Welcome to Knightline Extra on the award-winning Knightline Sports Network.
Hey there, welcome back to another edition of the Knightline Extra show. This week we'll get you prepared for Temple, which is, at this point I guess they're all big, right? But it's a pretty big game coming up. This game gives us the opportunity to battle back in the East Division. Temple's sitting at 5-2 as well. We're both looking up at Cincinnati, so the winner of this game at least keeps themselves in the race, if Cincinnati stumbles, to maybe get in the back door there for a conference title game berth. So certainly a lot on the line this week, and we'll talk about it all here. So we have a Temple insider joining us. We have our very own Trylko, who hopped on the coaches conference call to talk to new Temple head coach Rod Carey. And my good buddy UCF Mike joins to talk about 5 interesting things that you want to know about Temple. No, you don't want to know these things. You need to know these things. So stick around for that. But a couple of things off the top of the show here. So injury updates last week was a bit of a MASH unit as the game wore on. I'm not even sure, by the way. Does anyone actually remember MASH as a show? I actually was a little older than me. Even I didn't watch it, but it seems like the appropriate term there. But we do know a few things. Greg McCrae is out for this game. And it's interesting. Heupel came out and announced that pretty early on in the week, which is un-Heupel-like. So you kind of wonder and hope that things will be okay there. Otis Anderson seemed to play a little bit of media spokesman today and said that Greg would be okay in a few weeks. So more to come on that, hopefully. But no Greg McCrae against Temple, which means a heavy dose of Otis Anderson and a heavy dose of Montavious Thompson, which, again, if you're going to have to roll out 2 guys to sort of spell your backfield there's probably no 2 better guys to do that with. And then there's Adrian Killens. He tweaked an ankle on like the 3rd play of the game and didn't return. All indications are that he is well and should play. We had 2 offensive linemen go down, Cole Schneider, Sam Jackson. Both went down with leg injuries, although Schneider might have been the hip. Obviously, UCF hasn't declared much. But as of right now, there are no indications that those guys will not play or will not play this week. So we should see them in the lineup. But again, you never know when it comes to UCF and injuries. Neville Clark did not play against ECU. Undisclosed injury that was kind of talked about on social media. Seemed like from what the social media chatter was, it wasn't a serious injury, but no real update yet on to whether or not we can expect to see Neville Clark. So some interesting injury stuff that's still looming over. Obviously, I think we feel good about our backups, but it will be telling to see how many of the Knights are able to medically get out there and play again with a big one on the line. The loser of this game is pretty far removed now. It'll be a pretty far stretch to jump back into the top spot of the American Eastern side of the division there. So certainly a lot to play for. And if you're not traveling to Philadelphia, and I'm not sure if many of you are, but you can watch the game on ESPN2 Saturday night at 7 p.m., which is hopefully a big upgrade over the CBS Sports broadcast from last week because that was dreadful. But if you can get out to Philly, I don't know how many people are planning the trip out that way, but if you can get out there, great. Support the Knights. The home stadium is the same stadium the Eagles play in, so it's an NFL-style stadium. We've obviously faced that before. We just played Pittsburgh in the Steelers stadium, so back to Pennsylvania, back to an NFL stadium, and so hopefully better vibes this time around. So anyway, stick around. Knightline Extra. We got plenty of stuff. We're jam-packed. We've got Temple Insider. We got coaches. We got 5 things you need to know. We've also got a ton of other stuff on the network, so let me plug all that really quickly while you're here. First things first, Knightline Flagship. You want to listen to those guys, follow those guys on Twitter at UCF_Knightline. You can follow us, my show with my friend UCF Mike. We're at Sons of UCF on Twitter. You can also follow Mike at UCF Mike1 or follow me at Sports by Adam. And then there's Jeff Allen of the AAC Report. You can find Jeff, and he gives you great insight on all the schools within the AAC. So if you listen to Jeff each week, some of the things you hear on the Insider Show here are things you probably already know about. And then don't forget the morning after show, Sundays, 9 a.m., ESPN 580 Orlando, Andrew Phegley, and a host of others to be determined each week. So tune in and be surprised at who will be joining Mr. Phegley in studio. But up next, joining me will be a Temple Insider. Stick around. Knightline Extra.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Island H2O Live, a new wave of water park.
Experience the next generation of fun at Island H2O Live. You choose the music, you choose the lighting, and you choose where to share your memorable moments at Florida's newest and most immersive water park.
Island H2O Live.
Now open in Kissimmee, located off US 192 and State Road 429 on Inspiration Boulevard.
Island H2O Live.
All right, we got a big one Saturday night. Temple, obviously we've played them before, but every year is a new season. So let's learn more about Temple. Happy to welcome in Mike. You can find him at the Twitter page Temple Sports Daily. That's at TU Owls Daily. Mike was on last year with Andrew on the Extra Show, and I'm pretty confident I can tell you that nobody knows more about Temple sports than Mike. So, Mike, happy to have you back on the Knightline Extra Show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Adam. I don't know if I'd go that far. You know, there's a couple guys I definitely think that know more about obscure facts in history, but diehard fan, obviously, and alum. So I've been following the team for a long time since I was a kid, and it's kind of crazy to see the change in our fan base, even what they expect. As a kid growing up, Philadelphia, really, lower middle class, didn't have the money to go to Eagles games as much. So my dad started taking me to Temple games all the way back when they were in the Vet, and they were terrible in the Big East. They would barely win 1 or 2 games all season. The Al Golden era happened, and then, as I went to college, went back to finish up master's degree, you see Temple just start to rise, and they've been bowl eligible now since 2014 every single season, 2 AAC title appearances, an AAC championship in 2016 before you guys started running the table. And then, now the fan base kind of is expected more. So a little bit upset, I think the fan base was on Saturday, but SMU's a heck of a team. They should be, in my opinion, ranked close to the top 10, especially with the TCU win and just the way their offense can be so prolific and underrated defense as well. But as far as Temple goes this year, definitely a little concerned when I saw the point spread come out in this game and how I saw Temple handle the up-tempo SMU offense. Definitely gave the Owls trouble across the board defensively and offensively. There was about 9 drop passes on Saturday. So statistically, if you just checked out the box score and did not see Anthony Russo play, he may have thrown his best game on Saturday if there was, 4 or 5 of those grabs that were dropped. Maybe there's 2 that would have been touchdowns. So he was on the money. Just they didn't have any playmakers on Saturday. Isaiah Wright has been their stalwart, basically slash guy on offense. He was a All-American last year, first team, special teams, punt returner, kick returner, but he's also a heck of a wideout. He dropped 2 gimme balls on the first drive, and I thought that really changed the tone of the game because one of them was one he would have taken to the house, fumbled a ball later in the game after a Temple interception. So it was a rough day Saturday for the Owls. So back at home, though, they are undefeated this year at the Link with 2 top 25 wins. Memphis probably being their best win of the year, as we saw Maryland just is kind of terrible this year. So, the Owls have played some pretty good competition. They have the toughest schedule, I believe, in the American as far as, the teams they have to play remaining, including that SMU game last week and the week before Memphis. Now you guys, UCF. And then we still have Tulane on the schedule as well, and then at Cincinnati, second to last of the year. So it's a rough ride for Temple right now. So little concerned after Saturday's showing, especially defensively.
Well, let's so since the last time we saw you, you have a new coach. Rod Carey came over from Northern Illinois. If you blinked, you missed the Manny Diaz era. So give us a little insight on how Rod Carey and his system is different than what we saw last year under Jeff Collins.
Well, I think Carey actually came in here billed as a run-heavy coach. And he came in billed, him and Mike Uremovich, our offensive coordinator, they kind of came in billed as bully ball almost in football, where they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets out of the pistol and just ran the ball a lot. Now, to Rod's credit, he realized the kind of talent he had here at Temple and sometimes that's been a detriment this year because he gets a little too pass happy. He did that in the awful, atrocious upset loss at University of Buffalo. He panicked. He only ran the ball 14 times combined with our top two backs. Barely ran the ball at all in the first half once he got down 7 to 14 points. But overall, I would say Coach Carey's done a heck of a job in a transition year with a smaller program like Temple. Like I said earlier, our fans have kind of gotten, I think, a little spoiled over the last 5 years or so, watching this team continually grow. And they will continue to grow because Rod's done a pretty nice job so far recruiting. But, yeah, his offense is definitely more – it suits our talent more at Temple than Coach Collins did. He seems to know his talent a little bit better than Jeff Collins did. I was never the biggest Jeff Collins fan as far as him being an X's and O's guy. I thought he was too cute. He tried too many trick plays, and they were predictable at times. So, it was nice to beat them this year earlier in the season at home against Georgia Tech. But I've been very pleased with Coach Carey, to say the least, honestly. He's had his moments. I wasn't thrilled with the game he called Saturday. I felt it was, besides Buffalo, the worst game that he's called this season. And really at this point, I don't think he has an excuse because he does know his talent. He did abandon the run once again pretty early once Temple got down, and Temple does have a stud freshman running back I'd like to see get even more carries in Ramon Davis. So the Dallas actually had a dual threat backfield this year, which was the biggest question mark going into the season between senior Yager Gardner, who's more their power back, if so to speak, and Ramon Davis. They pretty much equally split carries. So it's been nice to have that balance. And that's been the key for Temple to win games this year. When they are balanced offensively, they run the ball, and they let Anthony Russo throw the ball underneath to open up that, over-the-top deep ball. That's when Temple's successful offensively. So Rod, I think, like I said, has done a great job, and he's even come in and made some changes off the bat to the initial depth chart that I was kind of questioning. And there are changes like sophomore Afeni Maije, the defensive tackle, who has just been outstanding, probably the best player on the defensive line this year. No clue he would start over former four-star recruit Karamel Diabuti, who is a senior, still a great defensive lineman. It just speaks to the effort that Maije put into practice, and that's why Carey said he got the job. And he's done nothing but make plays since he's gotten that job and forced two to three offensive linemen on him at a time. So, like I said, overall, the pistol offense style, the spread offense, when Carey goes up-tempo, I like it as well. He'll try different trick plays. He'll rotate guys in the slot. You'll mostly see Jaden Blue and Isaiah Wright looking for bubble screens and things of that nature. But he's been pretty balanced all year. So I have faith that if he sticks to his game plan and doesn't allow UCF to dictate the game with their up-tempo speed offense, they'll be okay. The problem with Saturday was, as I said earlier, they got into a track meet with SMU. And as good of an offense as Temple has, you don't want to get into a track meet with a team like SMU or UCF. So that hasn't been Temple's formula to win football games this year. And I am hoping that no matter what happens in the beginning of the game, that Rod sticks with the run game just to keep UCF's defense honest.
Let's talk about Russo. So we saw him last year. He put up 444 yards passing, and what was a tight game? Temple was actually winning at halftime in that game. I think a lot of people forget that. But obviously UCF came out on top last year, 52-40. Russo was impressive. I mean, I think our fan base walked away and said that we're in trouble for a few years. This kid's pretty good. How has he progressed as a quarterback from last year to this year?
I would say I give Anthony Russo more credit than pretty much any, and I get called a fanboy a lot, for sticking up for Russo. I give Russo a ton of credit because you really look at it from his perspective of coming in when Matt Rule was still here, and he's technically gone through 4 head coaches. This is his 4th head coach, if you include the 17 days Manny Diaz has spent at Temple. But he's also gone through 3 different systems, and this is his 3rd system he's had to learn, adapt to, and get used to. And, you're the quarterback. You have to know what every guy on that field is doing at all times, every single play. So Anthony, I have been impressed with his maturity as far as his leadership ability. They've ran a series in each half since the ECU game on Thursday Night Football, where they actually ran in backup quarterback, redshirt sophomore Patti, who is a heck of an athlete, heck of a young, promising quarterback, doesn't quite have the arm that Ant has or the accuracy. But Anthony's even taken that very well. So he as a leader, he's definitely grown. He's matured a lot in that aspect. I think that a lot of people were hyping him to maybe leave early. Some people, bloggers, Twitter pundits, whatever, had basically, as a redshirt junior said, if this kid has, X type year, he will probably leave for the NFL draft. I don't see that happening. I think Russo would return for his redshirt senior year. But overall, his progression throughout his career has been pretty remarkable as a kid that was pretty much looking to start right after Phil Walker graduated in 2016. And then having to sit really third string under Jeff Collins until there was an injury last year with Frank Newtile going into game 3. And that's when Russo was inserted into the lineup. So I am a big Russo guy. Like I said, I thought he played his best game on Saturday. It's just you need your guys to catch the football. And the Owls wide receivers had an uncharacteristic day, and they couldn't catch a cold, honestly.
Let's look at it from this angle. So you mentioned, obviously, your uncomfortability with the line and things like that. I think for a lot of UCF fans, we're kind of looking at this and the rest of our season in some respects, but this is a de facto elimination game. Obviously, we're both looking up at Cincinnati, so whichever one of us takes a second conference loss, obviously, we'll be in some challenges going forward. What do you get from a sense of urgency perspective from the team? Are they kind of in the same mind frame or perspective that this is kind of a game that they have to have, and they're sort of willing to go all out to make sure they get it?
This group, I believe, is absolutely ready to go out and get this game on Saturday. I think they've at times, especially in the beginning of the year, that Buffalo loss in particular, might have read into their press hype a little bit too much. There's no way they should have went up to Buffalo and dropped an egg the way they did after that Maryland win at home. But things happen. These kids are in college. People forget that a lot. They're young. Social media has overtaken the world, so to speak, and it's hard not to sometimes probably read into your own hype if you're at that age and you're getting that much press. That said, these guys have played in big spots, the majority of this team. Like I said earlier, freshman running back Ramon Davis is probably the biggest part of this team that hasn't been in a ton of them. But even that, he's played in a top 25 game at home against Maryland, and played a huge role in that win. He played a huge role in the Memphis win at home as well, another top 25 win. And I think these guys have been on the big stage before. They played down in Orlando. And like you said earlier in the show, that a lot of people forget Temple was up at halftime and continued to punch with UCF for a long time late into the third quarter, except they settled for a field goal on a couple drives where you can't do that against a team like UCF, especially with the offense they had with KZ last year. So, I think these guys know how important this game is. You lose this game, you're still more than likely going to a bowl game, and probably a pretty solid one, even with Tulane and Cincinnati remaining on the schedule. That said, 2 conference losses, like you said, there's probably little to no hope of an American Athletic East Division title. Temple would pretty much have to win out at this point. So it's a tough road ahead, but I truly believe this team actually has a 1-0 mindset right now, not to steal UCF's phrase, but I truly believe that these kids have that mindset, and Carey's kept them in, focused in every game, every single week, into a game-to-game mentality, not looking too far ahead. But they know what's at stake. They know that this game is basically an elimination game if they want to win the American Athletic East Division and have a chance to go play in the American Athletic Conference Championship this December.
What do you expect from a crowd standpoint? So UCF's 2 losses have both come on the road. The Cincinnati game was a raucous crowd. They were fired up from the get-go. Pittsburgh actually showed up pretty nicely. UCF's, I guess, getting comfortable being the hunted. It's kind of a new shirt we're wearing these days. So what do you expect from a Temple perspective, knowing that UCF has struggled a bit on the road, particularly when you have some raucous, noisy environments?
Well, a lot of UCF people have been great to me on Twitter ever since I was on Knightline last year. Great fan base, very, very intelligent. People try to get me as a UCF fan, or apologist, and I'm not at all. Just recognizing what they've done over the last few years, and very knowledgeable fan base. But I expect actually a lot of UCF fans to be up here on Saturday. I know it's a trip a lot of people had planned to make. I know if you watch our games on TV, it looks really weak sometimes because we're in the link. I don't think it's nearly as weak as the USF games in Raymond James. That said, the lower bowl, we do fill out nearly 35,000 down in that lower bowl. If we had an on-campus stadium such as Nippert, where Cincinnati plays, it would look a lot better on TV. But when you're there, in the stadium, it's pretty rocking when you're in that first level and in the atmosphere that is going to be taking place on Saturday night. The Memphis game, it was rocking. Maryland week 3, game 2, it was rocking. So I fully expect the Al faithful to come out in full force. Probably the college kids will be showing up pretty inebriated, to say the least. After watching them come in for the homecoming game against Memphis, I feel like probably 1/3 of our crowd didn't come in until halftime because it was homecoming day. So I do expect it to be a very good turnout for Temple. I think it obviously would have been a better turnout had we beaten SMU and have a ranking right now. It's hard to get national or even local media hype, in this city when you're sharing it with the Eagles, and not only the Eagles, the Sixers just started tonight. It's always kind of been a pro sports town, Philadelphia. So, Temple does get its coverage, but it's pretty much if you're not an alumni or a student, you're probably not too invested in Temple. That said, I still expect a good 30 to 35,000 to show and to be ready to roll. Like they know it's on the line. So it's a big time game for our team, our program, and to have any shot to get back to the AAC title.
All right, so I hate doing predictions, so I'm not going to ask you who's going to win, but I'll ask you this way. If Temple wants to win this game, they need to do blank to do it. Fill in the blank.
If Temple wants to win this game, they need Afeni Maje, the defensive tackle I mentioned earlier, and Quincy Roche to be healthy. Temple is a very, very four-man rush-oriented team, and they get pressure with a four-man rush. That said, they have three very good corners on this team. One stud corner, in my opinion, in Harrison Hand, lockdown type of guy. Safety, Benny Walls, great safety. Amir Tyler, graduate, first-year starter. He can be, the free safety position, I'll just say, can be a little suspect at times. So Temple needs the four-man rush to show up. They need a healthy Afeni Maje, because Chris Banks, his backup, or Karamal Diabuti, the other backup, will not suffice and do the job that Maje can do, not just taking on 1 to 2 to 3 blockers at a time, but also the way he can bust through the middle. And I believe he's one of the leaders in the country when it comes to defensive tackle sacks, if not the leader. I'd have to look the stat up, but I know going into week 7, he was pretty high up there. He was, I think, 6 or 7 sacks from the D tackle spot, which is really impressive. So defensively, they need the four-man rush to bring it. They can't get slashed like they did last year by Greg McCrae and Adrian Killins Jr. As I said earlier, I think that Rod Carey definitely needs to stick to his game plan and not play UCF's or fall into UCF's game, which is that up-tempo track meet style game, which Temple did hang around for a little bit last year with that, but as you saw towards the end, UCF rose to the top. I think they need to get pressure on Dylan Gabriel, make his night hard early, get after him quick. I might throw a couple of blitzes early to just basically, throw him off his game early. He's still a freshman quarterback. I know he's played in big spots before, but this is still going to be a pretty big atmosphere, and I'm sure he knows what's on the line as well. So the defense, like I said, we need our four-man rush there. I always have faith in our linebacking core. We're 4 deep. People that are listening don't know, the toughest guys on our team get single digits. We have 3 starting linebackers. Our 4th linebacker has a single digit. Our linebacking core that starts, all seniors. The only linebacker that comes off the bench, a junior. So we have a heck of a linebacking core, but it's kind of a drag to have to waste one of those guys in a blitz package when they all cover so well. So I think the Temple, like I said, defensively, four-man rush needs to get there. They need to keep containment on the ends with McCrae and Killins Jr. Also, obviously, the middle needs to be clogged for that. So basically, they need to play their style that has been successful for them all year and force turnovers as well, because that's when they win games. Yeah. I believe they forced 4 against Memphis. Offensively, they just need to stick with a balanced attack. Like I said, even if they were to get down 10-14-0 early, they cannot abandon the run. They do it too often. When they've gotten down, it's only been a couple times this year. But when they've done that, like I said in the Buffalo game and even last week against SMU, it doesn't get pretty, because Temple will start to push and they'll go to too many 3-and-outs or, first down and then they're out. So prediction, I'll give you a prediction. And I gave one on last year's show and I was wrong, because I said the Temple was going to break the streak. But I think UCF wins. I hope I'm wrong. I just saw the point spread come out this week, and I don't think it's that Temple won't show up. I just am uncertain of, Maje and Roche's ability to play the entire game. And if they can't get pressure on Gabriel with a 4-man rush, they are going to be in trouble with open receivers if they have to blitz and Gabriel gets rid of the ball, as quickly as I've seen him get rid of it this year. I think they could be in trouble. So I think it's going to be a really close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Temple won at all. I haven't picked against Temple at all this year. This is the first time I'm doing so. But I will pick UCF to win this game by about 6 to 10 points. I think it'll be high scoring. I think my fears are going to be realized, and it becomes a track meet, and Temple has to play catch up. So I think being at home will keep them in the game. I think they'll be in the game all the way towards the end of the game. Maybe make it interesting towards the end. But I think UCF will get their offense kind of going early, and I think Temple could be in trouble if they try to play catch up right out of the gate. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards UCF somewhere in the line of 41-34 at this point.
We would take that. So point of order, too, by the way, Greg McCrae actually will not play this week. He's got a knee injury. So
that's actually a game changer because he killed us last year. So
you'll see a heavy dose of Otis Anderson. So last year you guys probably saw him more in the slot. It was more of an experiment to put him a receiver. This year he's been more a running back. You'll see AK. He was also dinged up, but it sounds like he's playing this week. But watch out for our 4-stringer. His name is Bentavious Thompson. This guy's a beast. He had a long touchdown run against ECU on Saturday. So even though it's gonna hurt not having McCrae there, our running back spot's probably the deepest we have. So I think we feel good about that. But McCrae will not be playing. So adjust your predictions accordingly.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna stick with the prediction. I think Otis Anderson. I've watched him play a lot. He's a heck of a player, and he's good out of the backfield as well. I did catch some of the ECU game on Saturday. A little surprised at the tightness of that game, but hey, a win's a win, and people that probably just scoreboard watch are thinking, UCF only won 41-28. Temple won down in ECU, I think 27-17, and they really should have won probably 45-0. I mean, if the game if they had taken advantage of the mistakes that ECU had made. So I think, like I said, brother, I think it's going to be a really fun game down to the wire. I just don't have a great feeling about it, and I pray that I'm wrong because I really don't want to kind of be sitting around the rest of the season and then beat Cincinnati for the 5th straight year and send you guys to the AAC championship because we have beat them 4 straight years, just so your fan base knows. So you guys have some hope if you do win on Saturday. Yeah,
let's just hope you speak that into existence for sure. But look, if you want more insight on Temple, I don't know where you're going to get it any better than this. So you can find Mike on Twitter, again, at Temple Sports Daily. The handle is at TUOwsDaily. Mike, great insight as always, man. Let's stay in touch and let's hope for a good one on Saturday night.
All right, Adam. Take it easy. Have a great night, brother.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous.
All right, now you've heard from the Temple insider, but no better source to hear about Temple than their head coach. Rod Carey was, again, as all coaches are, featured on the American Coaches Conference Call this week. And you'll hear some of his comments here in a few. His opening comment, though, he was kind of giving his opening soliloquy about the challenge this week facing UCF. And here is what Rod Carey had to say.
So, well on our way to UCF, and obviously UCF is a good team. They're fast, they're physical on both sides of the ball, and they certainly are explosive. So it'll be a big challenge. All
right, so a challenge indeed for Temple and UCF, which is kind of a de facto elimination game in some respects. I know we talked about that a ton. But Temple has been kind of going through this stuff a little bit here the last couple of weeks. They've had a pretty daunting schedule, and as luck would have it, one of the stalwarts of the business, our very own Trylko, was able to join this said conference call and ask that very question of Coach Rod Carey of Temple. And here is how that went down.
The league's schedulers did you no favors, Memphis and SMU, now UCF. What's the measure of your team? How have you evaluated them during this grind?
I haven't yet. We're not through it. And so, I think that kind of evaluations of team happen after the regular season, at least in my world. We're just trying to, learn from our mistakes and get moving forward. And I know a lot of that's coach talk, like Mark and I were just talking about. But man, if you do anything else in this game, your tail's already kicked. So I haven't done that yet.
UCF with more than 600 yards total offense against East Carolina Saturday. When you look at them on film, what do you need to do defensively to slow UCF down?
Well, we need to keep things in front of us and not behind us, and I think that's the number one thing with a team like UCF that you have to do. Keep it in front of you and tackle it. And if it does get behind you, get to it and tackle it. Make them line up again. I think that's kind of, any defense, wants to do that with any offense. But certainly with these guys, it's probably more important.
Right, last week I gave Trace a hard time about losing the audio battle. I think he rebounded pretty nicely this week. The volume was at an Andrew Phegley acceptable level. But, I think you heard from Rod Carey what you hear from a lot of coaches, which is they're concerned about the speed of UCF. I think you talked about not letting him behind you, and so curious to see how that manifests itself on defense. I think every defense probably has that plan going into it, but yet somehow Gabe Davis and Trey Nixon and everybody else on the team ends up behind the defensive secondary and the linebackers. So let's see if Temple has anything up their sleeve this week to slow that down. Obviously it's interesting. Coach Carey talked about kind of the gauntlet of games, and so we've seen a little bit of the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type personality so far from Temple. They've been really strong, and then they've had a couple of games where they weren't as strong, and I guess we're the same vein as well. So curious matchup again. Rod Carey's in his first year as head coach, so him and Coach Heupel have not played each other. This is largely a new staff that Coach Carey brought in, so there's not a lot of familiarity from last year. We heard Luke Fickell talk about it earlier this year, is having a whole year to see UCF and to know what to do and to practice, prepare for them. Really was helpful as they went into the week to play us. So curious to see if Coach Carey and his staff, as kind of a newer staff, are able to put together a game plan that slows UCF down. But many thanks to Coach Carey for joining that conference call. And as always, our own Trace Trylko hops in and asks the good questions as well, too. So coming up, though, Mike that is, will join me to give you 5 interesting facts you probably need to know about Temple. You're going to want to stick around to hear that right after this.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
All right, the star of the Sons of UCF Mike, has joined me as he does each and every week here on Knightline Extra. 5 things that we think that you're going to want to know about Temple. Mike, are you? I know you've been slaving over Wikipedia, and you've been looking through all the different historical reference books. Are you prepared to share 5 interesting facts about Temple?
All these things are stored right up in my brain, man. I don't need to go to Wikipedia or any stuff. This stuff is straight from the top of my head and from the stuff that you emailed me this morning.
And here we are. So 5 things about Temple. I'll take the first one, Mike. So, and this is probably not a news story, but for those who aren't aware, Temple has technically had 3 head coaches in the past 2 years. How is that possible? Well, Jeff Collins, he left after last season to go to Georgia Tech, where they just discovered the forward pass. So what do? You go out and you hire somebody. They went and hired Manny Diaz. He was, at that point, the D coordinator of Miami. Manny Diaz trotted all the way up to Philadelphia, had an introductory press conference, and then 17 days later, he resigned to take the head coaching job at Miami, who just got beat by Georgia Tech and Jeff Collins this past weekend, by the way. And so what does Temple turn to? Of course, when in doubt, you turn to Northern Illinois, and that's where they found their head coach. His name is Rod Carey, and in 6 seasons in Northern Illinois, he went 52-30. However, I did learn his Wikipedia page has one unfortunate edit, and it reads, and I quote, "Much to his success at Northern Illinois, Carey was very despised as head coach due to his poor attitude and awful play calling." So that is an actual entry into Rod Carey's Wikipedia. But we will see Rod Carey when we venture up there because he will be manning the sidelines. The third such person to technically man the sidelines, although I guess two of them were only on the sidelines. I don't even know if Manny Diaz actually got the stadium, but we can figure that out later, Mike. So that's fact number one about Temple.
Well, I'm really looking forward to some awful play calling out of Carey. Hopefully that's true. But yeah, Manny Diaz, he was there for 5 minutes and he was gone. But such is the life of Temple Owls.
Do you think Manny Diaz wishes he was back at Temple right now?
Ah, man. Well, I'm sure he's getting a lot more money coaching in Miami. Yeah. So
he also doesn't have 5 wins in Miami.
Yeah, that's true. But he did say that they were only a few. I heard him in an interview today say they were about 3 or 4 plays away from being 7-0. So believe it.
Aren't we all, Mike?
All right. Fact number 2. Temple is 5-2 on the season. Their 2 losses are to Buffalo and SMU. The 2 biggest wins have been against Maryland and Memphis. Temple ranks 55 in total offense, averaging 420 yards a game and scoring 28 points per game. Their defense is ranked 58th in the country. They allow 236 yards through the air and 136 yards on the ground. However, Temple does rank second in red zone defense, having allowed 16 scores on 30 trips. And in kind of a surprise this year, UCF ranks 104th in red zone offense. We've scored 25 of 33 red zone trips.
So you're telling me something's got to give?
Yeah, something's got to give. Can that be right? 25 of 33 and we're 104th?
That's what I thought too, man. But you pull those stats up on, I think it was NCAA.stats. And that's what it said too. I was surprised that that's how that was ranked.
Is that...
but to be fair, we're not in the red zone a ton, right? Like we're typically scoring from 40 and 60 yards out, so we don't get to. I was actually surprised we were in the red zone 33 times because I figured it would be way less than that actually. But we did see, I mean, the Achilles heel, if you will, in the Cincinnati game, amongst others, was our red zone inefficiency. So on the road again, if we're playing against a stout red zone defense, let's hope we figured something out there.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this Temple team because we said it. They beat Memphis, who seems to be a pretty good team. They beat Maryland, who looked good early in the year. And they lose to Buffalo. I don't know how strong Buffalo is. And SMU is a good team, so that's another. They haven't lost any real ugly games, I guess, unless you want to count that Buffalo game. So it's not going to be easy, especially being on the road this week.
Well, fact number 3, if Temple's going to play well, they're going to need Anthony Russo to steer them in that direction. He returns this year as the starting quarterback. We should remember him from last year. He actually played really well for Temple when they were in Orlando. But through the first 7 games this year, he has over 1,600 yards throwing, a 58% completion percentage, and 14 TD passes. Last year in Orlando, he had 440 yards passing in the game, which obviously UCF won 52-40. But I think we all forget we were trailing at halftime in that game, which is interesting. On offense, Russo will have some help from guys Remon Davis and Jaeger Gardner. He also spreads the ball around to a trio of receivers. That's Isaiah Wright, Jaden Blue, and Braden Mack. So those are the key principles on offense. One interesting note about Anthony Russo, he wears a 40-year-old T-shirt that belongs to his dad under his pads for every game, although he swears he washes it. So Anthony Russo has a bit of a good luck charm that he will be wearing this Saturday in the game against UCF. Mike, do you have any good luck charms?
No, not really. A 40-year-old T-shirt, that thing's got to have a million holes in it, you would think. Especially, where is it playing football every week?
Under pads, you would think it's probably not in the most pristine condition. But, I mean, that's older than us, too, by the way, which is weird.
Yeah, not by much.
Yeah, there you go.
But this guy, Isaiah Wright, he's dangerous. He's, I believe, one of the best kick returners in college football, too. So we got to watch out for that on special teams.
All 3 phases.
All right, number 4. UCF and Temple have played a total of 6 times. UCF leads the series 4-2. And they've had some memorable moments in this series. In 2013, UCF was on its way to an inexplicable loss when Blake Bortles finally heaved the pass to J.J. Wharton, who may have made the greatest catch you've ever seen in your life. At least I think it's probably the best one I've ever seen. And we escaped that day with a 39-36 win. In 2016, we were beating these guys up pretty good. And we were leading 25-20 late in the fourth quarter. And Temple quarterback Philip Walker threw an 8-yard touchdown pass with 1 second left for a Temple win. And in 2017, the game wasn't much of a contest. We won 45-19. But later found out that was the game when we were up in Philadelphia that our head coach, Scott Frost, had some secret meetings with Nebraska officials about their head coaching position. And the Nebraska AD later joked that they did more than eat just cheesecakes.
Are we allowed to say jackass on this show? Because that guy always bothered me. We've had some that 2016 game when I was researching this. I actually went back and watched that. Man, God, I forgot how mad I was after that game because it was like a fake spike, and we thought they were going to spike it, and they didn't. And Philip Walker threw this pass in the end zone. The guy made a great catch. Neville Clark actually was on coverage. I forgot that game. I blocked that thing out, man. That really pissed me off.
Yeah, that one really hurt at the time, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise because that game caused the Cows to miss out on what would have been their only conference championship game, which they may have won because they actually got hot at the end of that year in 2016. And they had, I want to say they beat Temple. No, they must have lost to Temple. I don't know. But they were right in line. If we had beat Temple, then the Cows would have gone to that championship game that year. So there's a silver lining in that loss.
Well, hopefully they did more than eat just cheesesteaks. Everyone keep an eye on Josh Heupel this weekend, all right? Make sure nobody's walking around giving the guy cheesesteaks. Although it looks like Josh has had a few cheesesteaks in his time. That's not nice. Okay. All right, well, the last fact, Mike. When the Knights and the Owls play, it's actually a matchup of one of the most common Division I collegiate nicknames, with there being 4 schools with the nickname of Knights and 4 schools with the nickname of Owls. I know you have it in front of you, Mike, so I won't ask if you can name them, but could you have named them off the top of your head before you saw the answers?
Yeah, I tried to do it without looking when I read the first part of it, and I was kind of stumped, but then one of them's easy for the Owls. It's FAU, which we already played this year, so we played 2 Owls. And the other one I should have probably got too, Rice, which we were in the same conference with for a while in Conference USA. The 4th Owl I would have never got. And the Knights, I would have probably got 2 of those, the first 2, which is Rutgers and Army.
Yeah, the Knights is a little misleading because there are some colors in front of that. So the 4 Knights are UCF, Rutgers, who are the Scarlet Knights, Army, who are the Black Knights, and Fairleigh Dickinson, who I guess are just the Knights. I don't know. The Owls are Temple, FAU, Rice, and everyone's favorite, Kennesaw State is also Owls. But Mike, now that you know, obviously you know the answer already, but what the most common nickname with 14 teams sharing this nickname is the Bulldogs.
I would have never guessed that.
Neither would I. I actually would have thought it was Tigers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Tigers, because in the SEC alone, like half the teams are named Tigers.
Yeah. But apparently it's Bulldogs.
LSU, Auburn, Missouri.
So here's your homework assignment from your friends here at the Knightline Sports Network. Can you name all 14 Bulldogs? Write it down, send us a tweet, honor system. We're not going to send you anything, or we're not going to do anything cool for you, but just try your knowledge. Can you name how many, I guess, of the 14 Bulldogs can you name? Off the top of my head, Mike, I can think of 2.
Yeah, I can think of 2, exactly. There's 12 more. Obviously, Georgia.
Well,
Fresno State, right?
Georgia. Is Gonzaga the Bulldogs?
Oh, okay. So now we're talking about teams that don't even play football.
Yeah,
that's where you're getting me.
Yeah, it's just it's the collegiate. Yeah,
you're great at this too. I'm surprised.
I should be. I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, I don't think anybody knows all 14 without looking it up. There's no way.
You're probably right. You are probably right. Let's see if I can find it quickly here while we Google. Oh, there's a lot of these. Good Christ.
A lot of these are schools like I would never, like Fairleigh Dickinson I would have never guessed, and Kennesaw State, I can't even tell you where Kennesaw State is.
Yeah, Fresno, we already had. The Citadel, Drake, Gardner-Webb, they make another appearance. Georgetown. I thought they were the Hoyas.
Yeah, LaSalle.
Georgia, Gonzaga, James Madison, Mississippi State. Wait, Mississippi State Bulldogs, is that right?
Yeah.
Look at that. North Carolina A&T. Well, okay, never mind, because I just gave you all the answers, so don't Google it now, because you guys know all the answers. Although I'm not so sure I got all those right anyway. But those are 5 things that you need to know as you prepare for a big contest at Temple. Mike, as always, buddy, you bring a lot of good knowledge, and everyone should listen to you on the Sons of UCF here only on the Knightline Sports Network. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company, where the Knightline Sports Crew will be broadcasting live after the game. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, OviedoBrewingCO.com.
All right, my thanks to Mike from Temple Sports Daily. My thanks to UCF Mike from the Sons of UCF show. Trace Trylko for hopping on the AAC call. And my big thanks to everybody out there in Night Nation for giving us a listen. Hopefully we got you prepared for a big one Saturday night. Again, quasi-elimination game, and a lot to play for. So get in front of your TV if you can. Get to Philadelphia, and let's root the Knights on to victory. No matter what happens, you will get coverage around the clock from the Knightline Sports Network. We got 4 or 5 live shows next week that you'll find on your Twitter feed. You'll find on your podcast feed. So make sure you are paying attention. Until then, for all the good folks at the Knightline Sports Network, I'm Adam. I'm signing off. Go Knights. Ciao, John.